Recording. Okay, everybody, welcome. Here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about just navigating some scholarship applications. There's quite a lot. Kareem, can you make the screen larger? There's actually quite a lot that we can talk about. Kareem, can you just do the security settings, please, for the mute? And also do the security settings for the chat, okay?
Yep, I
So we're
did.
going to do that first. But everyone, here's what I want to tell you. There are a lot of different scholarship opportunities. There's more than one. But I do want to stress a couple of things that you should know that are really important. Number one, when you take AP classes, if you get a 4 or a 5, and we are going to talk about scholarships, but I want to talk about like the pre-scholarship thing. So pay attention because I'm known to be a torpedo, which I like to be. All right. So number one, if you have AP classes and you get a 4 or 5, you can actually get transferable college credit. You're really lucky. Like, for example, in Forest Hills High School, they let you take as many APs as your heart desires. You don't really have to fight. But then if you go to, like, let's say Stuyvesant High School, you have to fight to get into an AP, and it's really, really hard to do. So I'm just letting you know that you're so fortunate. So if you take APs, you get a 4 or 5, you get transferable credit. If you go to college, you have to take something called placement exams. And if you do really well in those placement exams, you can place out of the prerequisite classes, which are the level 1 classes. So that can also save you money. You can also take classes at a community college, and then you can try to transfer those credits over. That's usually through a CUNY College Now program. College Now is really, really good. So that's another one that's like a big opportunity for you. So just so that you have a clear picture of what's available, there's CUNY College Now, which can give you transferable credits, which saves you money. There's another, which is the AP classes, which can also save you a ton of money. If your parents are union workers, 1199, nurses, electricians, firefighters, police officers, UFT union, the 32BJ union, which is the workers for the building workers union. So you should know any union. Parents, make sure you pay your dues, because any union that you're part of, I assure you there's a scholarship for your kid. Scholarships are really important, especially when you are applying in 11th grade, you want to begin the search. So just to quickly recap, CUNY College Now, you can take classes, you can get transferable college credit. APs, generally, if you get a 4 or 5. Placement exams will also give you an opportunity to place out of a prerequisite class. If you really want to save money for college, and I'm going to give you some very clever advice, you better start picking your major early on from day one, so you know what you're doing once you're in college, because there's nothing more of a waste of time and money when you're taking classes and they're not towards your major or towards your degree. College is amazing because you can actually double major and you can major in minor. But if you're just like undecided all throughout college and then you finally decide you want to go to medical school and be pre-med, you probably did not take a ton of those prerequisites. So if you really want to save money, make sure that you go into college with a focus, and you want to make sure you're in the right department. For example, NYU. NYU is a big bubble, right? But then the branch, there's NYU School of Education to become a teacher. There's NYU School of Stern School of Business to go into the business field, an MBA track. There's College of Arts and Science. Let's say you're pre-med, you go into that one. Theater, you go into the Tisch School. Social work, you go into the School of Social Work. So you really want to go into a focus. And then remember, any of you who's part of a union, any family right now in a union, remember you have golden opportunities right now. If you're paying your union dues, there are a lot of great scholarship opportunities for that as well. In addition to that, in terms of scholarships and free money, if you become an RA at a college, which is a resident advisor, Kareem, do you mind just penciling that down? Explain what your duties entail. You can also get free housing. So Kareem's actually at Harvard University living for free. So Kareem is living the dream, but it didn't happen by accident. It happened because he's a smart cookie and he figured out how to become an RA. So Kareem, if you don't mind, please set aside time to explain how that works, because you get free housing. There's also the Macaulay Honors College program where you can get completely free tuition as long as you're part of that honors. Every single college, Hofstra, Adelphi, Stony Brook, St. John's, they have honors programs. So if your grades are very good, you can get into a scholarship program. And then there's just some very practical ways to save money. You can also do work study once you're in college. It's really important for parents to fill out the FAFSA, FAFSA. We're not going to go into that today. We're going to go into straight scholarships, but you need to know FAFSA is a very big deal. It opens October 1. The other thing you should know, the higher up colleges, top tier, there is something called the CSS profile, CSS, Sam. And that's very important. It goes over your financials. And then every single large corporation, literally every single one, like there's not even one that I can think of that doesn't offer a scholarship. Coca-Cola, Google, Pepsi. Oh my goodness. I mean, I can't even think of one that doesn't have it. Every single corporation, if you Google it, they have scholarship opportunities. There's also the JP Morgan Smart Start, which is very important as well. There's another one, which a lot of kids actually have, I know from Forest Hills High School. There's another one called Quest Bridge, QUEST. Quest Bridge is a full scholarship program, and you apply to Quest Bridge. You actually don't even apply through Common App. You apply straight to Quest Bridge, and you can interview and apply. The best way, really have the highest grades you can, take as many APs as you can, and build from there. Kareem, can you add to what I was saying about the RA stuff, please?
Perfect. Yeah, I certainly can. And I'll spotlight myself really quickly for you too, Francis. So, hey everyone, my name is Kareem. I'll just do a quick introduction. My name is Kareem Stanley. I've been working at Kweller Prep for about 10 years now. To Francis's point, am currently doing my JD and my MBA here at Harvard. But for my undergraduate institution, I went to Columbia. I did a chemical engineering degree with an applied math minor. And to go back just one more step, I went to high school in New York, and I'm originally from New York. I went to Queens High School for the Sciences at York College. So talking about the RA position, I can actually talk about it in two respects. I can talk about it at Columbia, and I can also talk about it at Harvard. So at Columbia, the RAs, or resident advisors, they're essentially tasked with taking care of the other students, like making sure that if there's any students that are having any issues as it pertains to, the whole gamut of issues. So it can be something as simple as just how are they managing classes and balancing their time, to kind of the broad range of issues, like severe issues as well, and connecting them with resources that are on campus to make sure that they're taken care of and that they feel cared for on the university campus. So you go through a training. Typically how it's done at most universities, that the start of the semester, you go through a training that teaches the RAs about all the different offerings from the college, so that you know what offerings to connect students with if they have problems that overlap with whatever specific offering you're looking for. And then post that, you're put in a position where typically the university will give you housing that is kind of like an upper tier relative to the average student. And it's kind of like a gift that the university is giving you as payment, because typically they don't pay you on top of that, but they do give you free housing. So that is payment in and of itself, especially if you're thinking about New York and here Boston, where rent is quite steep. So at Columbia, students, like upper students, typically are the RAs for students that are their junior. So I was an RA in my junior year and my senior year. And in my junior year, I lived in a dorm that had predominantly sophomores. So hopefully that makes sense. And then my senior year, I was in a dorm that had predominantly juniors and seniors. So it's kind of like near peer mentorship to some degree, but also like the primary function is connecting students with resources that they need on campus. Here at Harvard, they have a system that is a little bit different. So some people are quite familiar with this, but I'll give a bit of a rundown. So Harvard has adopted a model of the house system, is what they call it, which emulates what Cambridge and Oxford, like overseas in Europe, have done. Essentially, what the goal is, instead of having kind of a central dining hall and a central library, though they do have a central library here as well, but follow me here through the logic. Instead of having a central dining hall for all students and a central library for all students, they have individual houses that house in the neighborhood of 1 to 400, 500 students. And then within those houses, you develop community with those that are living nearby you. So it's an interesting model. Obviously, because you don't have those central dining halls like other universities, like Columbia, for example, has, your chances of overlapping with students from other houses becomes lesser, but you do gain closer relationships with those that are in your house. So I'm in one of the houses here at Harvard, and what they do is they ask grad students to be the RAs for the undergraduate students, and it has that near peer mentorship piece. I also have specialty functions where I kind of mentor students on going into legal degrees, business degrees, and then a variety of other things. But hopefully that kind of covers the whole RA position. If there are any questions, please do put them in the chat and I can answer more questions about that. And Francis, if you like, I can jump straight into scholarship. So you go, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to go through a few more things just because I want to make it clear, everyone, that you have the big benefit of being with such a smart cookie, which is what Kareem is. So Kareem, how much money are you saving this year in housing? Does it cover housing and food or just housing?
So at Columbia and at most universities, it's just the housing, but at Harvard, they do the housing and the food. So
what's the retail value? How much money are you saving by doing this type of RA position? And I just want to, okay, let's do one question at a time, but go ahead. How much are you saving off this route?
Yeah, so by my calculation, it's on the order of $25,000 to $30,000 per year.
And then you also did this in Columbia?
I did.
Everyone, be like Kareem. Repeat after me. Be like Kareem. Kareem is a genius. So you were an RA when you were an undergraduate student for 1 year. Is that correct?
For 2 years.
He's a genius. Everyone, pay attention to this. Those are multitasking. Pay attention to the brilliant minds. So you were an RA for 2 years. You saved how much in tuition? And this is not even technically a scholarship. This is just a very smart strategy. So how much money did you save?
At Columbia, I suppose it would kind of be on the order of a little bit less. Call it $20,000 per year. And then at Harvard, since the food is kind of included in that, and they kind of give you 3 square meals a day, it comes out to significantly more if you account for the fact that each meal is like $10.
And then I do want to backtrack, but not yet. I'm not ready. Okay, let's keep going. Everyone, pay attention. If you're multitasking, pay attention. Kareem, when you were in high school, tell me, what classes did you take that helped you transfer credits? And do you recall what your scores were?
Yeah, so certainly, and I guess I'll actually just double down on all of the points that you made earlier, Francis. That was a very comprehensive list, and it's clear that you've done this for quite some time. But yes, so saving money as it pertains to credits within college, that is a huge thing that you can do from high school if you take your AP classes, and oftentimes IB classes count as well, interbaccalaureate, and then AP is its advanced placement. So I took a bunch of AP classes. I took AP chemistry, which I got a...
Rebecca, can you type it just so that everyone has it? So type it in. Rebecca's co-host. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. So I took AP chemistry, which I believe I got a 5 on. Either way, I went into advanced chemistry, so I know I either got a 4 or a 5. Physics, I took BC physics, or I took both physics B and physics C. So both like the Newtonian mechanics and then electricity and magnetism, and that got me placed into a higher physics as well. And I got a 5 on both portions of physics. I took BC calculus. I got a 5 on that. I took AP US history. I think I got a 4 on that, but that didn't account for any placements, so not as important. I believe I took AP Spanish. I'm pretty sure I placed out of like having to take Spanish as a language. Yeah. So all things considered, AP classes do quite a bit for you. Like I went into college having almost a semester's worth of credits already. Like I think if I'm not mistaken, I had 12 credits when I was entering Columbia. So that I mean, it does a variety of things. I mean, one, yes, it can save you like the incremental cost of having to do extra classes, but 2, it also, like, aside from the monetary perspective, if you prefer, you can take fewer classes per semester and that lowers down stress. But I mean, to Francis's point, you can also, it makes it easier to graduate early and save yourself some money.
And what
And I
about
know
the
plenty of
college?
people that graduated there.
Do you have the, and that we're going to jump into the others. What about college now? Did you take, what about the actual college credits that you took while you were in high school?
Yeah, so unfortunately, and this is not atypical for kind of like the more elite private universities. The college credits that I got taking college now courses didn't apply to Columbia, unfortunately. But the AP classes that I took by doing well enough on them, those did.
But I think it's fair. Just tell us in general. It's okay. It's okay that it didn't apply to Ivy League, but in general, pretend like you had gone to CUNY. How would this have worked at a different college?
So I took 2 college now courses, I believe, while I was at Queens High School for the Sciences, and I got 6 credits from those. So if I had gone to a CUNY, then I certainly would have had the extra 6 credits on top of the 12 credits from the AP courses, and maybe I would have even gotten more credits because Columbia kind of has a higher threshold for accepting credits. So it may have been even more than the 18 total credits that I would have, it may have been even more than the 18 total credits that I've just mentioned there.
And then the last thing before we super shift gears, Kareem, can you explain how it actually works in college? Like, how did you graduated with, can you just explain what you graduated with, what your degrees in? What if you had taken like finger painting first year and you had no idea what you wanted to study? So this is another big money saver, is going in with a purpose, with a plan. Can you explain how like it works? How do you graduate, taking the classes you take? Go ahead. You see what I'm getting at. Can you read my mind?
So Francis had mentioned a little bit earlier about prerequisite courses. So those prerequisite courses, irrespective of the degree that you get, you'll have to take them. So for an engineering degree, they're slightly different than for a Bachelor of Arts. But for the purpose of this conversation, I'll just keep it to an engineering degree because it's simpler to talk about the classes.
Can you take some notes? Rebecca, type it in the chat so everyone can see. Okay, Rebecca, you have co-host, so you can type in the chat. Okay, go ahead.
Yep, and she is typing too. So I'll talk about an engineering degree just because that's what I'm most familiar with. So for all engineers, you're going to have to take entry-level physics, chemistry, calculus 1 and 2, so on and so forth. So I was able to place out of the first 2 semesters of calculus. I was able to place out of the first semester of chemistry, the first semester of physics. And that's where the 12 credits came from because I get 3 credits for each one of those courses. So those prerequisites are what you have to take.
And how old were you when you were accumulating these college credits?
I was between 16, maybe between 15 and 17, from a sophomore to a senior in high school. And to your point, Francis, yes, a 15 to 17-year-old is gaining credits by simply paying attention in class, studying sufficiently to take a test, and getting a 5 on the test. And I mean, these are all things that can be accounted for by just planning ahead. So, for example, Kweller Prep does tutoring for these AP courses. I tutor for the AP Chemistry, Physics, BCE, Calculus, so on and so forth type courses. So by just planning ahead, you can save yourself quite a bit of stress and oftentimes money in the future by just kind of like thinking through things and making sure that you do well on those tests.
Back to what you were saying about the major. So explain how this works when you're in college, just in terms of, and then we're going to shift gears to the actual scholarship applications, but how do you graduate so that you're not really wasting money while you're in college, taking classes that are not going to be counted towards your major? I hope everyone's paying attention.
Perfect. So I'll describe it in 3 steps. So we talked about the prerequisites, that irrespective of the type of engineering degree that you do, you have to take these courses: physics, calculus, chemistry, so on and so forth. Then there's this period in time that's called declaration. So when you're declaring your major, when you declare your major, typically most schools it'll be in sophomore year. Usually it's like sophomore fall, call it thereabout. Sometimes it can be sophomore spring. Either way, you declare your major at a point, and based on the major that you declare, it tells you what major courses, so courses within the major that you have to take in order to graduate. So for myself, I went into Columbia thinking that I was going to do mechanical engineering. If you all heard me before, I ended up with a chemical engineering degree. So to my point earlier, like when you're doing your prerequisite courses, it doesn't matter what type of engineering degree you end up doing. I knew I was going to do an engineering degree. I thought it was mechanical engineering originally. But before the declaration period, before the time that I had to declare my major, I realized that chemical engineering was the better choice for me. So I didn't lose out on any courses by having taken them earlier on in time. So the big takeaway is try to figure out, you have as much time as until you declare before you can start running into trouble with having taken courses that won't count towards your degree. So certainly, like, the ideal situation is to figure it out before then. But the farther you get past your declaration period, the worse position you're going to be in. Like, you'll start to get to a point where you'll have to take courses, or you'll have to stay longer in school because you've taken all these courses that are counting towards a major that you no longer want to be in, and you'll have to switch majors. So that's Francis's point, is like, try to plan ahead, figure out what you want to do, ideally before you have to declare your major. But in the worst case scenario, like, within a semester or two after declaring, like after you take that first course, that introductory course into mechanical engineering or into whatever major you choose, you should use that as kind of your guiding star on if you want to continue in that major. And if it's something that you don't like, or that you don't feel like you can confidently do well in for the next few years, you should strongly consider changing and going into another course. The earlier you do it, the better. And if you don't, then you can start to cost yourself money.
You can participate in internships. You can explore what your interests are. You can do this while you're in high school, right? So this is very important. You can start planning what you want to study. Kareem, what if you, and then we're gonna shift gears. What if you had decided your last year of college at Columbia that you wanted to go into the major that you now wound up having? What if that was the scenario?
Yeah, so if, for example, I continued doing the mechanical engineering track all the way until my senior year, I would have at least had to stay at Columbia for another year to get all the required major courses for chemical engineering post switching to chemical engineering. So that would be another year of tuition. And even worse, and we haven't even talked about this just yet, oftentimes scholarships will only cover you for a 4-year period, or like, if you get one of the big scholarships, they'll only cover you up until your senior year. So if you start going to your 5th and then even your 6th, some will do a 5-year period, but yeah, the longer you stretch it out, the worse chance you have that any long-standing scholarship will continue to support you.
So Rebecca, can you please write this? Kareem, can you do a recap of some really basic things you need to know about scholarships? So Kareem is going to do a summary, and then we're going to shift gears to Fafsa. But Kareem, just recap everything we went over and some really basic, obvious things you should know about saving money for college. Go.
Yeah. So one, it's a great position if you are able to get it, to be a resident advisor. Obviously, it requires some work and some time to take care of the students that are around you. And if any emergency happens, then you have to take care of that. But in my opinion, the benefit that you reap by the amount of money that you're saving significantly pays for itself and then some. And I'd say that was true for both Columbia and Harvard. 2, try to take as many AP courses. I hesitate to even say that. It's not just taking AP courses. Try to do well in the AP courses that you take in school, because that test at the end matters a lot. Like, if there's obviously, like, the ideal situation is that you care deeply about school. I care deeply about school. I wanted to do well. But if you don't, you should, like, if there's one course that you care about, it should be your AP courses, because those really, really matter. Like, you can start to save yourself money when you go into college. You can start saving yourself time. You can graduate early. I've seen plenty of people graduate in 3 years because they just had a bunch of credits when they entered college. So it just made it easier to graduate early. So that's the second point. And then the third point would just be, when you're declaring your major, you have 3 periods of time. You have prerequisites, then major declaration, then major courses. So like the courses within your major. You want to make sure that you know exactly what degree you're going to be pursuing, ideally before you get to declaration. But in the worst case, if it's past declaration, you want to keep it as close to the time that you declared as possible, because the more time you spend taking major courses that are not attributable to the degree that you end up wanting to pursue, the more time you're going to have to spend in school, because at a certain point, it's just going to be a timing thing. You can't fit enough courses in your schedule to satisfy the major requirements of the degree that you switched into. So I think that those are the 3 things that we covered. And I can jump into scholarships whenever you're ready, Francis, but there are a few questions in the chat that I'll respond to if you'd like me to.
Sure,
first.
let's go. Yeah, go ahead. Answer the questions, and we're gonna go and we're gonna create I call it a dummy profile for scholarships on my favorite website, which is FastWeb. But go ahead in the meantime. Go right ahead.
Perfect. So one very quick one. Someone asked that I go to Forest Hills. I did not. I went to Queens High School for the Sciences. Second one, it says, "Hi, Kareem. My dad was an RA at the Fashion Institute of Technology, but it was only $500 toward school in 1989. But he said that every other school in New York that offers this is a much better deal. FIT may be better now, and students should apply to be an RA and serve their fellow students." Oh, okay. So that's just a comment. Perfect. Yeah, no, I would agree that typically it works out to your financial benefit. It certainly usually does. But yes, back in 1989, I would anticipate that things have changed quite a bit since then. Perfect. And then one more question. When do you make a declaration? Do you submit a physical form or tell someone? Good question. So you typically make your declaration in your sophomore year. That's what I've seen at most universities. Interestingly enough, if I'm not mistaken, for an engineering degree at Columbia, to ensure that you have enough time, you declare in your freshman year spring, so after 2 semesters. But yeah, either way, it's going to be in that neighborhood. Like after your second semester, so between your second and your 4th semester, it's going to be kind of in that neighborhood. And do you submit a physical form or tell someone? Some colleges do physical forms. Some colleges do an online interface where you just kind of like do a major declaration online. Harvard certainly does online. Columbia certainly does online. I don't know if any colleges still do physical forms, but I'm sure they allow you to if you'd like to. But most of it is just on an online interface at this point. And there are advisors at all these universities that kind of help you with the decision-making process if you need it. And those are all the questions, Francis. So I'm happy to share my screen and we can jump in.
So everyone, pay attention and focus. Kareem is going to do something. He's going to create a dummy profile. I hope everyone's paying attention. And in this dummy profile, he's going to put in, I guess you're going to put the Kweller prep email.
I did.
You got to bite the bullet on that one. But this is what we're going to do. Kareem is going to create a profile. He's going to pretend that he is a high school senior or junior, and he's applying for make yourself a senior, actually. He's going to pretend that he's a high school senior applying to college. Okay. So everyone pay attention and watch how he does this. And hopefully you're going to learn from his example. Okay. Go ahead, Kareem, and try to make the screen larger whenever possible. So he's going to create something on fastweb.com, right? Go ahead.
Yes.
So you don't have, you could from 9th grade.
Okay, perfect. Oh, it timed out. Give me 1 second. So to Francis's point, I made the dummy account just to kind of save us a little bit of time here. Perfect. So on the dummy account, Francis, just so you know, I did kind of make it as a high school junior, but hopefully it doesn't matter too much. So
it doesn't. And I want to just say thank you so much for doing this before the webinar. It really means a lot to me that you read my mind. I've known Kareem for 10 years. He's become a mind reader. You can add that to your resume. And just walk parents through how you created the accounts in the first place so everyone understands how it's done. Okay, go ahead.
Perfect. So I'll just go to my profile just to kind of let you all see what type of information they asked for. So, I actually made it a college senior. No, yeah, high school junior. But yeah, either way. I meant to make this high school senior. That's just an error. But high school junior is correct. Okay. So on the portal, they ask you all of this information, like what's your current school year, what scholarship you need during this year. They ask you about your SAT score. I just didn't fill that out. Am I currently enrolled in a college, colleges of interest, possible majors, all these pieces of information. And I'll zoom in a little bit. I'm sorry, Francis. So all these pieces of information, your GPA, your SAT, your ACT, are you currently enrolled in college, high school graduation year, transfer within what year, possible majors, career objectives, educational experience, academic honors. I mean, it really, really goes in depth on all these things. And the question that you should ask at this point is, hey, like, why are they asking me all of this information? It's because scholarships often like tend toward an affinity. So scholarships will say that, hey, I want someone that is interested in going into the medical field. So if you put that, oh, I'm interested in the medical field, the FAFSA will start to match you with any kind of like medical scholarships that are applicable to you. Some people, depending on like gender identity, it can be something of that nature. Citizenship, like if you're undocumented, you can get scholarships through this means as well. Disability, heritage, ethnicity, all of these things. They're just kind of like categorizing you essentially so that they can match you with scholarships that are unique to people from your identity or to people that identify with kind of things that you identify with, if that makes sense. So all of these things, student activities, sports, performing arts, fraternity, sorority, yada, 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 yada. And obviously these things aren't as applicable because I filled it out as if I was a high school junior. So that's why it's not populating and it didn't actually ask me these questions. But either way, the interface is really streamlined, and depending on what you select, it'll ask you a specific set of questions so that you can start to match you up with different types of scholarships. So hopefully that makes sense. I went through that a little bit before the webinar just to create a profile. Then as soon as I was done creating the profile, it matched me with 39 scholarships. It says, hey, based on what you filled out, these 39 scholarships would be perfect for you. What's the potential value of if I was to get all 39 of those scholarships? More than $250,000. So there's significant benefit to this. And oftentimes this kind of touches upon the biggest piece of advice as it pertains to scholarships. Scholarships are tough to get. There's very limited amount of money. Oh, sorry. I'll take care of that really quickly, Francis. Okay. You're good to go.
Okay, I'm staying co-host of the meeting, Kareem. I just want to give you a heads up. Your host, just quickly make sure to check on the security settings as you keep going. And I just want to remind all of you, nobody's getting a scholarship if you don't apply. So make sure that you apply. Rebecca, can you write the word apply 10 times? Apply. Make me proud. Go.
Okay, perfect. So we have a question in the chat. Do you recommend FastWeb over other scholarship websites? Yes. FastWeb is a great aggregator. So all you need is an aggregator website. There's plenty of them out there, but FastWeb is one of the more streamlined ones. So it's not like you're missing out on anything. I'd say FastWeb is a great choice. There are also
for like 20 years. I've never actually seen something better than FastWeb. I mean, Kareem, have you heard of anything better than this? No, right?
Yeah, no, I actually haven't. But yeah, the only thing I will say is that there are kind of more specific scholarship aggregators that are like for a certain affinity. So there's a Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. There's there's a few of them out there that are like specific for specific things. There's also like a few medical field ones. I want to say maybe UNICEF has one as well. But either way, FastWeb in terms of like making sure that you're covering all your bases is probably the best one for that. So yes, let's go back to scholarships, and you'll see here like there's internship support and FAFSA. So they started to broaden outside of just scholarships, but we'll just talk about scholarships today. So there are a variety of scholarships that don't ask you to write an essay, and they oftentimes put that inside of the name of the scholarship just to show students like, hey, this is an easy application. Please do apply to this. This is kind of free money. Obviously, these are going to be much more difficult to get because so many people start applying to them. But yes, just to kind of go through a few examples here. Sallie Mae No Essay Sweepstakes, 1500 Protestant Faith Base. So that's another kind of affinity, right? That is unique to the scholarship, and you'll be kind of competing with those that are of the same affinity. So it's a smaller pool of people that they're going to be considering. So these are scholarships that are easier to get, on average. So that's why it's so important to fill this out very accurately, and to fill this out very accurately so that the interface can match you with scholarships that really start to get granular. Like there are scholarships out there that are specific for people born in a year, or specific descendants of people who were engaged in some war, or specific descendants of some like royal family line, and there's a bunch of things. Like, it can get very, very specific, and the more specific it is, the better the chance you have of getting it. So you really want to fill this out accurately and allow the platform to do its magic. 5,000, easy scholarship, be creative, build community. That probably has a short intern or short essay that you have to write. $2,222, no essay, you deserve it scholarship. College Express, search, like, it kind of follows, it goes through the whole gamut of things. Teen Change Makers essay contest, 20.
Can you also reserve, because it's 7:40 already, can you reserve some time? I want you to do a pretend application to a scholarship, maybe like a no essay. Just pick one that's like really easy, and I want you to like walk through from start to finish on applying. Go ahead.
Perfect. So let's do the no essay, you deserve it scholarship, for example. So notice how, like, some scholarships are going to be such that they're on FastWeb. So, like, they have their own kind of platform on FastWeb. Not all of them will be like that. Some will kind of direct you to an external website with the scholarship. Some will take you to an external website with the scholarship. Sorry, someone just posted something in the chat. That you have to go on that external website in order to apply to the scholarship. But yeah, some will have like their own interface just right here, and it's kind of nice. And this one, if I'm not mistaken, will take us to an external website. Yes, perfect. So notice this takes you to Scholarship Owl, no essay contest. So literally, I'd be making a profile. I'd be registering for free, making my own registration on here. So yeah, let's do this really quickly just to be extremely illustrative. Kareem, Columbia, holiday, yeah. And then I'll put in the fake number. Oh no, I don't need that. We just need this. Okay. Just 1 second here. So perfect. Now we've created a profile on Scholarship Owl, and then it'll ask me to go through kind of the standard things. And I'll do this really quickly. Okay.
Can you make everything larger? I want everyone to see.
Perfect. Okay. So it's just asking me for general information here. I'm making the profile for Scholarship Owl, the external website, the external website for that $2,222 scholarship. I'll just say senior. That's a graduation date. Let's call it June of 22. College enrollment date. Let's call it September of 22. College graduation date. Let's say May of 2026, which is insane to think about. I graduated in 2017. Degree type, bachelor's, career goal, engineer, if we can find something like that. Well, let's call it business. And then, yeah, none. Perfect. Okay, let's hope that that's the end of that. Oh, we need 3 colleges. Okay, let's say Princeton. Perfect. Queens. Oh, populated. Nice. Yeah, and notice how like oftentimes these scholarship websites will have different things where they'll say, yeah, we'll register for all these other scholarships, and it becomes uh it's probably like data gathering, honestly. But yeah, not interested in any of these. Amazing. So now we're on Scholarship Owl, and you'll notice how Scholarship Owl has a significant number of scholarships as well. But let's just focus on the one. Yeah, I successfully entered the $2,222 no SAE deserved scholarship draw. Continue to get more matches. So that was it. Like some scholarships are as easy as doing that, literally just making a profile on the website. So the downside is that you'll likely get emails from this website, but the upside is that you legitimately have a chance of getting that scholarship now. So some scholarships are literally that easy, and I will give you all a kind of another example of something that's a bit more involved, like you have to do an essay, so on and so forth, or you have to have recommendations. So let's go back here. We're back on FastWeb. Let's go back to the scholarships. And just to kind of give a little bit more kind of like broad strokes advice, I guess we can ask this question in the chat. When do you all think it's best to, I guess, start applying to scholarships? So I'll give a few options. Let's say junior year of high school, senior year after you submitted applications, and then freshman year of college. Which one of those options do you think? And you can direct chat me. Okay. Perfect. Okay, perfect. So we have one person that I would agree with. So the most scholarships that are going to be open to you are going to be the scholarships that are open in your senior year. And it makes a lot of sense to apply during that time because you just finished with college applications. So you have all these essays that you've written for colleges, you have your Common App essay and your supplemental materials and so on and so forth. So the best time to apply is typically going to be senior year after you've done your early decision applications. And you really want to do early decision applications, one, because it helps you like expedite the college applying process. But two, now that you've done these early decision applications, you have your essay, you have all these things together so you can start applying to scholarships. Yeah, and that's when the most scholarships are going to be afforded to you. So you have the big flagship scholarships like Gates Millennium. You have Questbridge, like Francis mentioned. You have, if you're a certain affinity, Jackie Robinson. You have a bunch of things that can cover a significant portion of your schooling. And there's a few questions in the chat. Are these scholarships that have to associate with? Are these scholarships that have to associate with a specific school? Could you choose more than one scholarship? So these scholarships that we're showing you right here are not associated with any specific school. There are many. Now let's see if they do have a breakdown for this. Yes, if you go to the college search tool in FastWeb, you can start looking at scholarships that are specific to schools. But yeah, these are just for anyone. It's not anything specific for a school that I'm showing you right here. And then could you choose more than one scholarship? Yes. So you can apply to as many of these scholarships as you want. You can apply to all 39 they've matched me with. Someone said that they're a sophomore and it's saying that there's no scholarships available to them. So the farther you are away from graduating from high school, yes, it'll be a little bit more difficult. But there should be things out there. FAFSA may not have that, but I couldn't check on it for you, unfortunately, during the time that we have. But certainly keep looking. And now that you know about FastWeb, you'll really want to start looking junior year and senior year, junior year at least, to plan what you're going to apply to. Perfect. Yes. So I will kind of go through a little bit more involved application. Unfortunately, we're going to have to make another essay here. Not sweepstakes. What's a good one that we can do? Yeah, let's say this one, $5,000 easy scholarship. This seems like one of these that you only have to write an essay. Some scholarships, they'll ask you for references or they'll ask you for recommendation letters. And my recommendation for that would be, hey, you just asked all these teachers for recommendation letters. Just ask them, hey, can you submit the same thing for me for these scholarships, and have the scholarships kind of lined out for them. Someone asked, how many scholarships are you allowed to get? And the answer to that is there is no limit. Yeah, you just have to apply to a lot. And it's tough. Like, I have spent a considerable amount of time in my life applying to scholarships, and you get a small fraction of them. Like, I have the whole Columbia and Harvard thing on my resume and all of these things, and that's great and probably makes me stand out. But even so, like, it just takes time and effort to apply. It's a volume game more than it is like an art, I'd say, because there are so many scholarships out there. So to view scholarship details, you go in 5,000 by sharing your unique art with your community.
Kareem, can you make it
in
larger?
public
Make it
spaces.
much larger.
So this scholarship, for example, it's from DoSomething.org and Vans Off the Wall. Vans, like the skatewear brand, those types of sneakers and stuff. Maybe the students on the call know, we can say more about that. But either way, you could win a $5,000 scholarship by sharing your unique art with your community in public spaces. Simply upload a screenshot or photo of you sharing your creative superpower in a public space, like with your classmates in schools, your neighbors, or a public park. You'll automatically enter. So extremely simple. Like, you could literally do something kind of more traditional art and have people around you and say, like, build community, something of that nature. You could have a game that you created on the pavement. You could have anything. There's a variety of things that come to mind. And all you need to do is take a picture, upload it onto this website, and then you'll be entered into the scholarship. So one of the easier ones. Just another example here. Now, not all scholarships are going to be as easy as applying to those two that I've shown you before. So let's find one that is a bit more difficult. Yeah, be bold. Oh, no. This is no essay again. I apologize. But look, $25,000 and there's no essay associated with it. So that's a pretty sweet deal as well. Let's look at
Kareem, make it larger. I want the parents to see it.
So description, you have a story that deserves to be told and a voice that needs to be heard. We want to hear you, and we want to help you be heard by the world. I-Way is all about radical inclusivity and allyship, creating a community where no one feels alone. Our mission is to amplify, advocate, and pass the mic while inspiring everyone around us to continue learning and growing as individuals, which in turn will result in growth collectively as a society. As part of our mission to amplify voices, we're so excited to launch a scholarship, and at least 3 students will be awarded $5,000 each for their education. So let's look at how we go about applying. Apply now.
Kareem, heads up, it's 7:53. So let's just do like a wind, like kind of like a recap of what the big scholarships are.
Perfect.
So just remember, wind down.
Okay, perfect. So I'll say, well, this is going to make me create a profile. So hopefully this kind of like makes sense to everyone. The simple way of just getting access to the variety of scholarships that we've introduced today is to make a FastWeb account. Make sure that you fill it out accurately with all the affinity groups that you're a part of, or with all the identities that you identify with, I suppose. And so that the platform can match you with the appropriate scholarships. Scholarships, in short, are more of a volume game than they are art game. Obviously, you should put effort and time into making the essays, but scholarships is one of those things that there's very few slots, and just because you don't get one, it doesn't mean that you weren't a good candidate. You just have to apply to a lot of scholarships because it is just tough to get them. It's just the nature of the game. But I will say,
and just remind everyone some of the really basic ways, which we talked about in the beginning, because some parents came in late.
Yes. Sorry, my AirPods are just dying.
Perfect. So some of the basic ways, Francis, that you said, what? I don't know, Francis, if you're speaking, but you may be muted.
No, Kareem, go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So some of kind of like the more flagship scholarships are going to be Gate Millennium Scholarship, Gates Millennium Scholarship, which is a full tuition scholarship, and a lot of people apply to that one, and it's a really tough one to get, but that's certainly one that you all should consider. There's Questbridge if you're kind of part of an underrepresented minority group. And Questbridge is also a full tuition scholarship, if I'm not mistaken, or it is for most people.
It is correct. It is. It's full tuition.
Perfect. And yeah, there are some flagship scholarships, but those are tough to come by. And I don't want people to think that those should be the only ones that you apply to. You should be going on a website like FastWeb or something of that nature and trying to play the volume game of applying to many scholarships, putting the essay in that you've already created, because now in theory you're applying to these in the latter part of your senior year, where you've already completed your early decision or early action application. So you have essays, you have these things that you can use to apply to these scholarships, and you have teachers that have already written you recommendations, so you can ask them again to write a recommendation or to just submit the same recommendation for these scholarships. So sure, certainly apply to those larger scholarships, but play the volume game as well. Like, I do this on a relatively consistent basis, and sometimes I strike gold and sometimes I get a few scholarships, and sometimes it's not as great, and that's kind of just a fact of the matter. But they are a huge help, and yeah, you certainly should be doing this type of thing. Other ways you can save money that are outside of just pure scholarships is you can apply to be resident advisors when you're on a college campus. That saves you the money of the I guess housing that is associated with it, and in some cases it'll save you money on food as well. And then also you highly consider taking AP courses and your baccalaureate courses when you're in high school, so that those credits that you get, well, not just taking, let me reiterate, it's not just taking the courses, it's doing well in them, like doing well on the exams, so that those credits apply when you go to college. And yeah, Francis, that kind of is.
I think we covered everything. Everyone, let's take a moment to go off mute so you can unmute. Everyone, give Kareem a gigantic thank you. Can you type thank you? Let's do a chat with everyone in the chat, and I'll give you guys baby time so you can enjoy it. Okay, we're gonna do baby time. Baby. Gushy. Everyone, say thank you to Kareem. Hi guys.
No problem. And there was a question in the chat: what are some scholarships that are good for IT, and what are good colleges?
We're out of time. No,
yeah,
we can't.
Yeah.
We gotta close.
Yeah, when you feel, but just to respond to you,
let's type Kareem a huge thank you. You want to put the spotlight on the baby? Let's do a spotlight baby.
Okay. Let me.
Can I get more light? Can you give me more light? Give me more light. Baby. Hello, baby.
But just to respond really quickly to the IT question, if you feel on FastWeb,
Kareem, go. Okay, fine, go. But I need everyone to go unmute and say thank you. Kareem, I can't do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll let them unmute themselves.
Everyone, thank you.
Okay, you all can unmute and say thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, good.
No
Everyone,
problem.
thank you. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Kareem. Kareem, you're the best, the coolest. Yay! Say, Kareem is the bestest. 1, 2, 3. Everyone, go. 1,
Thank you.
2, 3. Kareem, the baby's like, who is this weirdo mommy? Good. So yes. Everyone, thank you for listening to our little Zoom torpedo. I hope that you learned a lot. Please type in the chat. Tell me how much you learned. Okay, go ahead. Go, everyone. Go.
All right, Francis. You have a good night. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for paying attention. Thank you, Kareem, for being near me for 10 years. That's a long time to put up with me, Kareem. You a lot. No gray hair yet. No gray hair. Okay.
Have a good night, everyone.
Okay, good. All right. Enjoy, everyone. Have fun. We're glad you're in.